Strange occurrence here on the East Coast. We now know that on June 13th, 30 different tide measuring gauges from North Carolina all the way north to Massachusetts showed what appears to match the definition of a tsunami.
Officials believe the 6-foot wave was a Mateo tsunami, which are caused by strong weather systems that lead to a jump in air pressure. That spike creates strong waves that mimic tsunamis.
The wave was about 6 feet tall, sweeping 3 people off the coast and injuring 2. This is the first time a tsunami has been recorded off the coast of New Jersey in 80 years. A storm system that moved across New Jersey just before the tsunami is being investigated as a possible factor.
Living around here, we've had earthquakes, Sandy and all these things lately. It seems like it's, what next?
The weather system drenching parts of New South Wales continues to bring heavy rain and the threat of floods.
Parts of the south coast have now received triple their average June rainfall in just 3 days. It bucketed down again today. Even the horses have had enough as paddocks were turned into lakes. It came up in just a few hours last night and could take a few days to clear. Another concern, coastal erosion as wild seas batter the coast.
Locals say it's a 1 in 100 year event and this just happened to be their year.
Now, here in the east, we're worried about a lot of rain. Take a look at what it looked like yesterday in Pennsylvania, parts of central PA near State College. I mean, heavy rain, flash flooding. Folks had to be rescued by boat. There were streets that were inundated, turned into rivers. I mean, literally within a matter of minutes, they had to do a lot of high water rescues.
And guess what? We now have the wettest June ever recorded in Philadelphia, 10.11 inches, beating the old record. We still have a couple days to go. Meanwhile, in Wilmington, there are nearly 12 inches of rain, way over the old record, 0.9 inches. That's one of the wettest months of any time of the year that we've ever seen.
A big rain-producing weather system just parked along the coastline for days, showing no signs right now of moving. It has caused flooding in rural and urban areas from the Carolinas to New England, and just today, tornado sightings and significant damage in the area around New York City.
This is the kind of heat we expect out here in late summer. Not only is this brutal heat wave hitting earlier than usual, it's expected to be the worst in a decade. Tucson was hotter than Cairo, Egypt. California's Death Valley hotter still, approaching 130 degrees.
We could see temperatures at least very close to the hottest temperatures ever recorded on Earth.
Researchers say get used to it. Alexander Gershinoff, who studies climate change at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, says Western heat waves are changing.
The new types of heat waves that are becoming increasingly frequent are humid heat waves, and with high humidity we actually have much hotter nighttime temperatures.
Bill mentioned that the temperature in Death Valley, California was approaching 130. Well, the hottest day ever recorded on Earth was in Death Valley, almost exactly 100 years ago, July 10th, 1913. It hit 134.
On this Monday, 19 firefighters have been killed while battling a fast-moving wildfire about 85 miles northwest of Phoenix. They were part of an elite group of specially trained firefighters called Hot Shots. Officials say the crew was overtaken by the flames and had deployed their personal fire shelters in a final attempt to save themselves. It's the single worst loss of firefighters battling a wildfire since 1933.
I'm turning now to the weather. Heavy downpours are continuing to batter large parts of this country. 9 provinces actually and municipalities have been affected.
The severe convective weather started around 3:10 p.m. on Sunday. Some residential houses have been inundated and road traffic was severely affected.
The storm has caused 39 deaths and 13 are still missing. North China and cities in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River have also been hardest hit.
Flooding and landslides unleashed by torrential rains in southwest China's Chongqing municipality has led to 2 deaths as of Monday, according to the Ministry of Civil Affairs. In Chongqing, nearly 880,000 people have been affected and over 100,000 evacuated.
Scenes of devastation following a magnitude 6.2 earthquake that struck Indonesia on Tuesday, killing at least 22 and injuring more than 200.
They say the jolt damaged about 300 houses and buildings. 2 apparent aftershocks measuring magnitude 5 triggered landslides. Some people remain missing.
Hundreds of dead fish have been washing up on the beaches of the Mississippi Gulf Coast for the past 2 days. Mississippi officials want you to be aware, but not afraid.
Stingrays, fish, shrimp, eels, and crabs, all dead, all spread along beaches along the Mississippi Gulf Coast Tuesday. Officials say it's the second day of a fish kill for the record book.
We could see more superstorms like Sandy, along with massive wildfires, epic flooding, and drought. A new report says they could be worse than anything we've faced in 500 years. The World Meteorological Association says the last decade was the warmest ever. We saw new heat records on land and at sea. Plus, it was the wettest period in a century, with more floods and hurricanes. Professor Michio Kaku is a physicist at the City University of New York and a CBS This Morning contributor. Professor, good morning.
Morning.
How significant is this report?
This report is devastating. You know, you don't need a weatherman to know that something is terribly wrong with the weather. Everywhere I go, people say the weather's out of control. 100-year flooding, 100-year heat waves, especially in Europe, 100-year storms. And this report summarizes it all. The last decade has gone down as the hottest decade ever recorded in the history of science. You have to go back to 1850.
Waves as high as 7 meters pounded homes and businesses on Chile's coastline. The extreme conditions started on Wednesday, with weather experts warning they could last until the weekend. High winds caused the tidal surges, which have led emergency services to issue weather warnings to 11 regions in the South American country, predicting strong winds, high tides and large waves. In the city of Vina del Mar, about 120 kilometers west of the capital Santiago, the waves washed over sea defenses, flooding coastal streets and damaging homes and businesses. Seaside resorts also suffered, and one port was forced to close to all vessels. In another area, 8 homes were flooded and 32 people affected.
A lot of folks around the country found themselves dealing with extreme weather on this first day of the holiday weekend. Look at this. It seemed more like the middle of winter in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, after a storm dumped more than a foot of hail. They had to call out the snowplows. Many homes and businesses were damaged.
And here's some pictures. Take a look at the roof here, completely overtaken by the weight of the hail. Reportedly paintball-sized hail. And by the looks of these pictures, it sure does look like winter.
We are well into summer, but it sure doesn't look like it in this New Mexico town, covered in white after a storm dumps buckets of hail, leaving plenty of damage behind, too.
Along the Florida Panhandle today, heavy rain and thunderstorms caused flash flooding. In several areas, as much as 20 inches of rain has fallen since this morning. And highly dangerous rip currents forced beaches in Florida and Alabama to close.